In this video, we're going to be going through my latest short film that I posted last week called Lost Focus. The film follows a character struggling with social media addiction, and he breaks free from it all by driving through the mountains in a car. I thought I'd break this video down into 4 sections with the pre-production, the production, and the post-production, and then any closing thoughts as well. So for the pre-production, normally I start with the trusty old sketch pad, write down any ideas that I have and badly sketch them out as well. I find that this helps me with the storyline and stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a way of getting my ideas down on paper. And then if I want to develop this idea a bit further, I often pull references from TV shows and films and plot them out. You can see here how I've taken some of the ideas that I had and brought them all together in an arrangement, and you can see how there's a sketch here that I had of a character in distress. So we've got this shot here, and then you can see how I've referenced this from Oppenheimer, a film where the character's in distress in this scene, and I really wanted to replicate that. So once I fleshed out the idea a bit more, I knew I wanted the intro scenes to be inside and the characters struggling, say like at home in their living room or in their kitchen. Maybe they're neglecting some parts of their work or their relationships, and then it kind of moves from them snapping out of that and like kind of jumping into a car and driving through the mountains and in the outdoors, embracing it and really discovering that sense of flow state once more, where you're just completely immersed in what you're doing and you're not just constantly distracted by social media and technology with like all the dingings going off from notifications. So really wanted to stick to those kind of 2 locations there, where there's the interior and then there's the exterior, like outdoors mountain scene. So I knew I had to get those 2 locations down. And when it comes to the talent for the film, I posted a story on Instagram and just asked if anyone would be interested in collaborating on this film. So I needed talent and assistance, and luckily really grateful for how well people responded to that on Instagram, because within a day I had my talent sorted. So I was just going for 1 character for this one, and then managed to bag some assistants as well and people to help me with the driving scenes. So ended up using my friend Tate for the talent, and I'd used Tate before last year in a little film that I made. So we've worked together before, and everyone else that I'd used in the film I'd either spoken to online before or met with in person and shot together with, so that was really nice. So for the locations, we have the living room aspect here, where the character's kind of just wasting time and being bored and frustrated. Then we've got the office scenes, which were shot down the road, so utilising those, and again just simulating that he's a bit distressed. And then onto the driving scenes through the mountains. So had a while here shooting, and then ending at this awesome beach, which I've always wanted to shoot a film here. Never shot lots of photos here before, but never any film. So really glad we got to make that work. It was incredibly windy here though, but we'll get onto that later. So that was really the locations that we'd sorted out. Next on the list was sorting out the car that we were going to use for this. I decided to rent one out myself on Turo and just have the freedom and flexibility with when I wanted to rent it and how I was going to use it as well. So that's what I ended up doing, and ended up causing me quite a bit of drama in the end, which I'll get onto later in the video. But yeah, not the best experience with that, and I've had quite good experience in the past with Turo, but not this time around, unfortunately. So when it comes to shooting the office scenes, these are quite straightforward. Just trying to emulate a bit of a studio office space. Clearly not a conventional office, but one where hopefully you can tell that he's at work. Using a lot of the window light that was there, because the windows were so big that they're providing so much light. Our lights weren't doing too much against these windows. So just trying to display that he's a bit frustrated, and then he walks out of it. So these ones were quite straightforward. So next we're onto the living room situations, and I filmed this initially in the living room and in the kitchen, but I felt like the kitchen scenes they didn't really add too much to the story. Yeah, so quite simple lighting in this one, just using key light and then enhancing some of the lights we already had in the room. keeping it simple as possible and going for a coolish tone here with the twilight outside. These were relatively simple to shoot, but the space that we had was quite limited as well, so that presents another challenge. But these were all pretty simple compared to what we're going to face in Wales when we're dealing with shooting cars, which is much harder, much harder, and the logistics of those are harder too. You're dealing with the weather as well. Like shooting interiors is nice because you've obviously got to work with the light outside depending on what kind of shot you're going for, but if you can completely control the light, you can basically control the weather and the light, so you don't have that luxury outdoors. And the experience I have of shooting outdoors really helped with this. So let's move on to the outdoor scenes now, and you'll see some of the rollers that we have here, like this one. These were shot hanging out the back of Jonny's boot and using a gimbal, and then just the rig itself. I found the gimbal for these were a little bit shaky sometimes. The 24-70 that I was using on my FX3 is pretty heavy, so sometimes on some of the big bounces in the road it was a bit too wobbly for my liking, so I tried to switch it between the rig that I had built up and the gimbal as well. And then a mixture of that and out of the passenger door too. You can probably see that in this photo here of the fail-safe cable that I had for the FX3. So yeah, these shots were super fun to shoot, and it's always so fun shooting rollers. One of the cool shots that we have here is the suction cup one on the bonnet, and this is the first time I've done a shot like this. We were using quite a simple, cheap and cheerful rig that one of my friends suggested. Initially we had the suction cups on the bonnet, and we're using some straps as well just in case the cups came loose. I didn't want my FX3 just bouncing down the road. So we tried a couple of shots like that, but they were really shaky. I think the wind catching the straps just added more vibration for the entire shot, so decided not to use those. And then this shot that you see here in the film is one where I think I just have the A74 on the bonnet with nothing else on apart from the cup itself, and I was pretty scared about doing this. There's a video where you just see Tate driving away and the A74 on the bonnet. Yeah, I was fully expecting it not to come back with the car, but it did luckily, so that's good. So those are some of the interior shots. We've got another one like that as well, which is a fixed mounting shot, which is in the interior here. So this was just inside the car on the window. These shots where they're rigged up, I thought were really good for capturing the character's emotion in this and trying to show that he's actually having a good time now. And without those kind of the rigged shots of someone's face, I feel like you just completely miss that emotional element of the film. So shooting these out the back of our friend's 4x4. Then we're on to film this last scene here. Luckily it wasn't raining and it was really windy. You might be able to see some of the details in the water there, and with Tate's hair and with the waves coming in. And ending here with this last shot showing our character's relief and enjoyment of being outdoors and feeling that sense of flow state once more, which is completely opposite to how he was feeling beforehand, where he was just task switching and doom scrolling and just being completely distracted. Whereas when you're in flow state, you completely focus on one thing, and for this it was driving through the mountains and just feeling that experience once more and feeling alive from it, and yeah, embracing it all and taking it in. So that's some of the production. When it comes to the post-processing of this film, I did most of it in DaVinci Resolve, so I did the edit and the sound effects and the color grade. And then for the actual track itself, Hear Me Out Music, I collaborated with those guys on that one, and George and Luke did a really good job. So super stoked to work with someone doing that kind of thing. I always wanted to work with someone to develop a track on a film, so it's really cool that it was for my first piece that was a narrative one. So let's walk through some of the ideas that I had with the music and the sound effects and the colour too. Let's walk through some of the sounds that the guys at Hear Me Out created, and you can get a feel for what the original track sounded like. So if we go here, just select solo there, and then you can hear kind of what the track sounded like. So kind of building up suspense here. You can just kind of hear what it really sounds like. And then when we get a bit further along to the drop we have here, you'll see it really picks up pace. So again, building up more and more attention to the release at the end. Love these bits. Yeah, love those keys at the end. The guys did a great job at hitting me out. For the different voiceovers we have here, we have a person on the radio and someone doing the main voiceover. And for the person on the radio, which is a news report. So for this one here, we use a high pass filter to make it sound like it's in the distance. And then if we turn on the main report as well, so we've got that one.
We live in a world more connected than ever.
We've got the main voiceover.
Yet we have never been more disconnected from ourselves.
So we've got the main voiceover and then the reporter as well in both of these, and then I've just added more and more layers throughout. If we turn off the track, you'll hear all the sound effects here. So I'll play you a bit of what it sounds like without the main tracks, just to give you a feel of what the bass video sounds like. So let's play that now. So you can hear some of the main sound effects there from the car and everything driving past, and then when we get to the beach you'll hear some sounds of the waves and just the ambience of the environment as well. So really trying to build up the sound effects to give an impactful result in the end, and then all of them combined. So trying to keep the sound effects subtle, but building up the layers and the depth of the video. When it comes to the colour, try to keep the nodes as simple as possible really. So we've got the noise reduction, the white balance, some of the adjustment to the colours, then some of the masking that we've applied, the LUT that we've used as well, and then some film effects after that on the end. So you can see the before and after here. Before and after the LUT was applied, that's made that a bit bigger. You can really see there. So trying to add more of a cooler tone to the intro of the video. This one was actually a bit warm when we filmed it, but you can cool it down quite a bit. So let's bring up the clips. So this shot, for instance, which is shot in the very beginning, and we show the before and after there. So add in some cooler tones to it just to darken it and make it a bit more blue. Same with this one here. And you can see how we've just made that a bit more blue. And then if we move along a bit to this one as well, so just adding some blue to that one to try and make it a bit colder and a bit like he's not having the best time. And then we have this one beforehand, so we're just trying to invite a bit more of the warm tones there and just bring them along a bit. Same with this one where it's kind of neutral and just trying to make it a bit warmer and a bit more inviting. As you move on to the later parts of the video, we're just trying to keep the tone quite subtle and just having some subtle elements to it and not going too overboard with the edit. So that's a simple breakdown of the editing there, really just trying to enforce the cooler tones in the beginning of the video and then trying to invite some warmth into the more energetic part of the video towards the end. So using DaVinci for all of this, love DaVinci, and glad I made the switch to this when I did a few years ago. I thought I'd end this video with a few takeaways of what I've learned from shooting this passion project. The first one being that things will probably go wrong. In this project, I mentioned that there was a bit of a problem with the hire car, and in the end, the speedo stopped working on the way back from Wales, and then I got a crack in the windscreen, and normally this isn't a problem, but the owner of the car didn't have windscreen insurance, and that ended up costing me for a brand new windscreen, so that's not ideal. The other thing I'll take away from this is that it's amazing to bring it to life, to bring your idea that was once a few notes on your paper to an actual video that you've made with people, and you've gone out there and tried to bring your idea to life. It's definitely harder than I first thought it would be to really, the idea that I had in my head, it kind of came out like it, but I feel like it's not quite what I envisioned, and I probably envisioned something better in my head, but it's kind of only as good as I can make it at the time. And yeah, I'm proud of what I've made so far, but I feel like the next one is just going to be better because I'll have more experience of all of it. And that's another thing about it, is that yeah, I've just learned so much through the whole process, and have a lot of respect for people who work with people and emotion, and like that form of directing, something I'm really interested in doing a bit more of. Another thing that I'll take away from this is that I'd love to make another one this year. So I'd love to do one which involved dialogue as well in the future, to really start going down that alleyway of just having more narrative and like introducing dialogue and more characters. Obviously makes it more complex, but I think it'd be a really good challenge and a way of telling your story a bit better as well. That being said, I would just love to work on more passion projects in general. I love working on passion projects with my photography, and it's obviously a lot harder bringing those to life when it comes to video, as there's more moving parts, especially for something like this one where there was a car and multiple locations. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see where these go, and I'm really excited to work on some more in the future. So I really hope you enjoyed this one. I thoroughly enjoyed bringing this project to life and turning it from a few words on the paper to a film that everyone can watch and I can talk through with you guys about how I made it. Strongly encourage people to go out there and try and bring their ideas to life, no matter how small they are, as you'll learn so much along the way, and once you finish you get to look back on all you've learned and some work you're proud of. So yeah, go out there and make your passion projects. I'll see you in the next one.